Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to video 2. The royal family is really super busy. We have a lot to cover. Let's jump in. Let's get there. Let's go. I told you the other morning they were going to be doing a statue for the Queen, and they did it. They unveiled it on what would have been her 98th birthday, and it shows all the corgis at her feet. Apparently there was a big crowd and there was lots of cheers and lots of barking because almost 50 corgis from the Welsh Corgi League were in attendance. Now this statue is 7 foot tall. It's made of bronze. This statue is a permanent reminder of her 70-year reign. Now, apparently, she only stood 5'4", but the statue is 7 foot. They say with the corgis and everything, and she looks great. Now, they're saying the Queen owned an estimated 30 corgis or dorgies, which is a Dachshund and Corgi mix. And they're saying she was the most famous Pembroke Welsh corgi owner in history. And throughout her reign, she was photographed with animals wherever she went. That is absolutely true. She was a massive animal lover, and we know she loved her corgis. Moving on. Let's move on to Princess Beatrice. This is very interesting. She attended an industry event at Spotify's London office. She hosted a discussion about the future of technology. Now remember, this is after Harry and Meghan had their Spotify deal canceled and they were called grifters. We all know about that whole thing, so I'm not going to recap the whole thing. They're saying now it appears that Beatrice is building a working relationship with Spotify, and I don't know why they're not announcing it, but it looks like she's going to be doing something, and probably because we know Spotify is the biggest streaming network. If anybody can get it out, Spotify can. Now, before anybody says anything, remember, Beatrice is not a working royal. She doesn't use her title to make money. She goes by Beatrice York or, whatever, Beatrice Mapelli. She does not use her royal connections to make money. She never has. Now, Beatrice was in good company. The people that were on this stage were really big movers and shakers, like Brent Hoberman, who co-founded the online travel and leisure retailer lastminute.com. Harry Stebbings, a venture capitalist, was there as well. Host of the 20-Minute VC podcast. He launched that podcast as a teenager in 2015, and he interviews investors, entrepreneurs, and startup founders. The point that I'm trying to make is that every person who was on that stage earned their spot. Nothing was handed to them. They worked hard, they interviewed, they hustled, and they deserved to be up on that stage. And then lastly, you had Princess Beatrice, who founded By EQ, and she's vice president of partnerships and strategy at Affinity. And she hosted a fireside chat with Miss Dogra, who is the former president of Warner Brothers Discovery, and Miss Middle, who is the founder and CEO of Food Hack, which is a science-based meal delivery service. And they discuss the impact of tech on mission-driven companies and strategies. So it looks like Beatrice is doing well. If Beatrice was to run her own podcast, I doubt that she would sign an exclusive contract, then develop nothing for 2 years, need 13 producers, have a studio built in her home, get all the help, have somebody else do the interviews, dub her voice over it, and then if she lost her contract, sit back and say that nobody gave us the lay of the land and it was really Spotify's fault why their contract went belly up. No, I think Beatrice would actually do the work, produce the podcast, and put it out. And I'm sure it would be pretty good, and I would love to listen to it. Let's move on now. Let's move on to Charles and Camilla now. They were seen driving to church near Balmoral, and this is the first time he's been seen since it came out that he does plan to attend Royal Ascot this summer, even with the cancer treatments. I don't see what the big deal is. It's a 5-day race, and he wants to honor his mother, who only missed one Royal Ascot in 70 years. And if he wants to go and he's healthy enough to go and the doctors say he can go, then he'll go. Yeah, okay. Now, that same day he was spotted, we know that it would have been his mother's 98th birthday. So I'm sure he went to church to honor his mother. I mean, let's, be honest. He misses her, but I think he's been blessed more than he realizes how many people get to keep their mother into their 70s. I mean, in all seriousness, I think that was really nice. He basically, his 3/4 of his life, he had both of his parents. Wonderful. All right, moving on. We're moving on to Queen Camilla, who went to Gettr Garrison in North Yorkshire. She met serving Royal Lancers and veterans. This is her first visit to the regiment since she was appointed the Colonel-in-Chief. And of course, she got that last June after the passing of Queen Elizabeth. She was met by Lord Lieutenant Joe Roper and Colonel of the regiment, Colonel Richard Charrington. They did a royal salute. And after the salute, she inspected some of the 152 Lancers that were on the parade route. She then spoke to them for the first time, and she gave a very personal speech. And she talked about her dad and how 87 years later, she was pleased the atmosphere was unchanged but quipped. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Royal Lancers is an armored reconnaissance regiment that was formed in 2015 when the 9th and 12th Royal Lancers and the Queen's Royal Lancers were basically put together. And in the last 12 months, they've been in Poland as part of NATO's enhanced forward presence and NATO's Kosovo force. On a personal note, I just want to say I think their uniforms are pretty snazzy, and it's obvious that they took Camilla's outfit for the day and they tried to make it mimic the outfit. I like it. As an FYI, you should know that while they were doing the march past, there were several armored vehicles, including a Humber and Dingo from World War II, which would have been the ones that her late father would have commanded, as well as modern Warrior and Bulldog vehicles. This is a very impressive unit that they've got there. This had to be somewhat emotional for her since her father was part of this unit, and she headed on over to the Royal Lancers Museum. Now, this is where you get to see some pretty cool stuff. And one of the things Camilla saw was a photograph of veteran Royal Lancers, and her father, Major Bruce Shand, was seen in the picture. Now, he served with the 12th Lancers during World War II. Camilla then went on a tour of the Royal Lancers Museum, and she got to see her late father's tunic, which is going to be put on public display later, and it was purchased at auction by the regiment. She even got to see a letter. If you look in the upper right corner, there's the name Shan. That's her dad. I just think that's so touching. Now, as she was leaving, they handed her this trophy, I guess is what you would call it. And she got this because this was her very first visit to the Lancers. I think that's very nice. Now, there was a get-together reception afterwards where she met the OCA. And what that is the Old Comrades Association. And there were a lot of families and members there. These are people who their loved ones are deployed overseas. And, of course, she was right in her element with those babies. Oh, love it. The more of these events that Camilla does, the more I like her. Anyway, she waved from the car window as she was leaving. I thought she looked lovely. Let's move on. Finally, we have Prince Edward, who visited the Reading Rep Theater, of which he is a patron. They have a 163-seat venue and cultural hub, and it was built and opened during the coronavirus pandemic. Now, Edward is into the arts. He always has been. And I, for one, am glad to see him out and about. It's been a little bit. He does look healthier to me, in my opinion. I think he looks like he's put on some weight. It makes me happy. And finally, happy 6th birthday to Prince Louis. He is really looking mature in this picture, I have to tell you. I love it. Oh, he's so cute. All right, you guys, you know what to do. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and follow me over to video number 3. Let's go.